Welcome to another edition of the SprintCarLimited.com podcast presented by Wicked Energy Gum. I'm Jeremy Elliott, joined by Ryan Hand. We're coming to you from Knoxville Raceway, site of the Knoxville Nationals. It's the 60th edition, Ryan. You look jet lagged. You're dedicated. You got off the plane and came right here to do the show.
Dedicated or dumb, I'm not sure which one, but I'm here.
I don't know. You're my ride back to my apartment, so
Okay.
that's.
Right.
I'm glad you came. So that's what's important. Kind of have an abbreviated show, 3 segments. We're going to have an interesting guest in segment 2, and we're going to keep him around for picks as well, which should.
We could be in trouble with that then.
No, he's not that good.
Oh, okay.
No, he is. He does a great job. He does power rankings, works in a casino. Yeah, I know. Home away from home for me. But we're going to jump in with our newsmakers from last week. We're not going to focus too much on this, obviously, because it is the Knoxville Nationals. Biggest dirt track race in the world, in my opinion. And I don't care what other races pay. I think this is the crown jewel.
Biggest race in the world, in my opinion.
Okay, Indianapolis 500 is pretty big. Yeah, well, that's because you haven't been there. I know it's sacrilegious to say, but I've been to the Indianapolis 500. It's something, 300,000 people. I digress. Sheldon Haudenschild is on a roll coming into Knoxville. He swept the weekend at Peevely, or Federated Auto Parts Raceway at I-55, the longest name in sprint car racing. But we'll just call it Peevely. Swept both nights, won the Ironman. This is no surprise. He's really good there.
Yeah, if you had to pick a guy to win, you take him, but you wouldn't let me. So
I'm sorry.
I didn't get him, but yeah, he would have been the guy that I would have taken for sure. He's been fast all year, and that place is really good to him. He's extremely fast there.
It got a little dicey the first night. Brad was hanging there.
Mm-hmm.
Both him and Brad lapped up into, what, 7th, 8th?
Yeah, I was thinking of 7th, yeah.
So Brad wasn't bad. He just wasn't as good as Sheldon, which is nothing new at Peevely.
No, Sheldon drives so hard. He always drives hard, but there you can he's phenomenal there. He really is. And Brad, I'm not going to say it's completely Brad's style there, but they always get their car pretty good, and to beat Sheldon there, you're going to have to drive on the very edge, and Brad doesn't always do that because he doesn't always have to. So it's kind of Sheldon's playground.
He won $30,000 over the weekend. He comes in here now. I don't know if it translates. We'll see on his qualifying night, but he debuted his car today. His paint scheme was pretty good.
Yeah, I think it's definitely different. I really like his standard car, but I don't know. The one-off paint schemes sometimes grow on people, so we'll see.
I don't know. I don't know which one I like best yet. I know Bobby Allen had the throwbacks, and I know Carson Macedo had the yellow. That's one of the things about the Knoxville Nationals. I think everybody looks forward to these throwbacks / special paint schemes.
Honestly, my favorite one so far is Tim Kading's, the Slick 51. That was one of my favorite cars to begin with, and I think it looks really good because they did a great play on the whole thing with the way they did the signage, and I think it looks really good.
I like the silver wings.
Yep.
I'm big on that.
Yep.
So moving on, Gio Scelzi got things rolling at Knoxville. He wins the 360 Nationals. This is no surprise to me. I think I said something to you about a week ago or a week and a half ago about how much I like Gio in that event. Great race with Darren Pittman. I thought it was technical. They were both moving around. It was clean. It was one of the best 360 Nationals I've ever seen. And Gio comes out on top.
Yeah, I was scared watching the preliminary nights because I didn't think the racing was all that fantastic, the 2 preliminary nights. But, man, the final night definitely packed some punch.
Absolutely. You didn't like it too much because your guy that's where I benefited in the picks, which we'll get to later, of course.
Yes, of course.
Although, hey, look, you passed me because of Larson last night at Oskaloosa, which we'll get to. But $15,000 for Gio. Do you think that you've done this? Yeah. You've been here. You've done well in the 360s. Does that translate over to the 410 Nationals at all?
Yeah, I think it does a little bit. You can't do everything the same, but you certainly the big thing is laps. Now Gio comes here multiple times a year. We only came. This was our one shot, so we took the 360 Nationals very seriously as our first chance at the track, and I think it always paid dividends when we came here for the 360s. I think Gio has a lot more laps during the year than maybe we did when coming in. But I think, you get in kind of race form here and you know where to be because this place changes as the night goes on. So it definitely benefits you because it races. It's not like going out and testing. It races like a racetrack. like Knoxville will.
Well, it's going to be interesting. Did not have a great Cappy Classic. He just had problems with something on the car, but it was nothing major. He was still running in the top, I believe, 6 or 7 when that happened. So I think Gio, I think Gio will be fine.
Yeah, they'll be fine. Bernie's cars are always real fast here, so I don't think they're going to miss a beat.
No. Tim Schaefer gets a win. $20,000 out at West Virginia. Beats Anthony Macri. It rained a little bit. It was one groove. I know Anthony was a little upset. Thought he had the best car, but just you couldn't really do anything with it. But Tim Schaefer gets a win in the 28.
Yeah, I watched preliminary night as well, and I felt Anthony was slightly faster than Tim both nights, but pill draw there is very critical. The track is humongous, and anytime you get close to your competitor, you catch pretty serious aero problems, and I think that was evident. Anthony could probably get within about 8 car lengths of him, and then that was about it, and had faster lap times if you look at the race monitor and stuff, but it doesn't matter. Tim took 20. And Tim really needed it. It's probably a great boost for Tim for this season.
I agree. He'll be at the Nationals in the 28 cars. A lot of rumors that he was going to be in the 83. That isn't the case. It's Casey Kane, which we'll get to later as well. Devin Borden had a good weekend. This was coming. We knew this was coming. I at least thought it was coming. He starts on the pole at the Grove, wins. Starts up front at Port Royal, wins. Had to hold some people off at the Grove. Chase Dietz was right there. Lance DeWeese was coming through the field. 2 good wins for Devin Borden, and maybe this gets the ball rolling for Hefner Motorsports.
He definitely didn't have to hold anybody off at Port Royal.
No. he pistol whipped him.
Yeah, he killed him there. That was like 9 seconds or something like that. He looked, honestly, I was there the week before at Port Royal, and he looked somewhat out of control. He was kind of sliding around all over the place, and I watched this on TV, and he was really good. Like, he looked very comfortable from the week before. And Williams Grove, he took care of what he had to do. I mean, he started on the front row. The track was semi-narrow, and the favorite there had problems all night. So every restart, I felt like Lance was handicapped. He couldn't get going. He talked about that in an interview that I saw. But Devin did a great job. It was a great weekend for Hefner Motorsports for sure.
Well, Dietz did show him the nose a few times on the restart, so he had some pressure. What I like about Devin is I think he adjusts. I think he gets better each time he hits the track. You mentioned that he looked out of shape and all over the place at Port. Comes back this week, you win by 9 seconds. Yep. You're not out of shape for winning by 9 seconds. So I like the fact that he adjusts real well and seems to get better every time he visits a track.
Yeah, no, and I mean, we're kind of critical. Probably a little more critical than we should be for the lack of races he has in a 410. I mean, you got to realize the kid probably doesn't run a 410, especially on half miles like we have back home, more than whatever he's run back home. What, 20 races, 10 races?
10 to 20.
Yeah, so he's doing a very good job and learning quickly, and good place to learn.
Critical me? Come on.
Well, he's not from California, just up the road.
Wow. Hey, it's West Coast, though. Yeah, that almost counts.
You're happy.
Yeah, it almost counts. Yeah. Sunday, Capitani Classic. We're going to jump right into some of the stuff that happened here over the weekend. David Gravel looking good. I was really impressed with the way he won the Cappy. Kind of stalked the leaders, got to third. Then he shots messed up on the cushion just enough. And Gravel was hitting the bottom. He wanted no parts of the curb over in turns 1 and 2. And then he chased down the leader, and that was it.
I honestly thought the race was going to be Donnie's. I mean, he looked real sporty early, and like you said, he was over here and hit the cushion and won, and it looked like it took the wind out of his sails for a little bit. He had to recover from that, and David was gone, and David gets around here really good.
Yeah.
This is one of his best tracks, and good place to be really good at.
Yeah, Corey Eliason looked really good, finishing second, and actually he passed him back again, which is what the most impressive thing to me because, I'm not going to say anybody could lead here, but it's easier to lead here than it is to come back on someone after they passed you. Came back on him, and he was close. He was within 2 car lengths in traffic, and then David caught the caution. Mm-hmm. And then after that, David took care of business, won by 4 seconds.
Definitely the best that Corey's looked all year, and we talked about this last week on the show. This is a race that's going to be a make or break race for Corey, I think, for next season. So, good time to be pretty good.
Yeah, we wrote about it on SprintCarUnlimited.com. Just kind of his struggles, and the last month he's been faster.
Yeah,
but definitely Sunday was the best he's looked all year. He's yet to win, a 410 race. He has a 360 win here in a regular program. So it'll be interesting to see how he does this week. You know, Donnie Schatz finished third. I'm sure he's not happy about backing up a spot. And he was challenging for the lead a lot, at least in the early stages of that event. And he stayed relatively close, but it's still not the Donnie we're used to in a race that he normally doesn't attend.
True, but I think we kind of saw that one coming. They need to get laps here, which is remarkable for Donnie. But I feel like Donnie has a presence again here. Like that
really?
That race.
Okay.
I thought he looked pretty good. He timed good.
Yeah, he did.
Timed good. He went out in the second group and was right there with everyone.
I think he was like fifth overall.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're right.
No, he timed good, and that's a big key here. The next big key is getting through your heat. If you time good and get through your heat, you're gonna be locked in the A main.
Yeah.
Plain and simple. It doesn't matter what you do.
Yeah.
You know, if you just hang around in the feature, you're gonna be in the A main. And no one gets around here better than Donnie. If they get the car close, he'll make something happen.
Oh, he'll definitely make something happen. I think the interesting stat is the last two Knoxville Nationals champions won the Capitani Classic. David Gravel sitting in a good spot. So
good news for David.
That is very good news for David. Over at Oski, Southern Iowa Speedway, 21,000 front row challenge. I'm really surprised by the winner. It was Kyle Larson.
Yep.
I think the interesting thing there is he changed the motor, I think it was within 15 minutes of starting that A main. Didn't really have a chance to mess with the fueling of the motor. You know more about that than I do. It just sounds good when I say it. But he looked good, especially in the middle stages of that race, past Darren Pittman, past Brian Brown, and that was it.
Yeah, I think that was an important race for Kyle just to run. Obviously, if he'd have came here with that motor in, they'd have had problems at some point in the night.
And it would have cost him.
I would assume something broken, a part failure broken the motor, because he wasn't even. I mean, he wasn't even up to speed when it broke. So I think it was a very important night for Kyle to run, not only to get that out of the way, but also to get laps before you come right here, because you don't get a lot of warm-up laps here.
No.
On your qualifying night. You get about a lap and a half at speed, and you better figure it out in a hurry. Now, not that he can't, but I think it gets him more acclimated back with the dirt car, and I kind of heard that they brought a new piece out there. So
they did.
It's a good shakedown, and obviously $21,000 helps pay for the shakedown.
Yeah, Brian Brown finished second. I thought Brian looked really good.
Yeah.
Now, I got to say again, people don't race Kyle hard. And I saw that at Oskaloosa. It was a perfect example. Now, Brown even admitted it.
Yeah.
He said, I had my Knoxville car. I didn't, it was risk versus reward. And we wrote about it today on sprintcarunlimited.com. However, Kyle was in the same position because that's a new car. And he just said, yeah, you know what? That's it. And it was just a matter of Brown not squeezing Kyle, and Kyle chopped him hard the next lap.
Yeah, I think Kyle had an easier decision to slam the door than Brown did to shove it in there, because Kyle was kind of ahead of Brown when he slammed the door, and Brown was going to have to force the issue. And I like Brian's thinking there. But
big picture.
Someone's going to have to give Kyle a little bit of Kyle eventually.
I'm waiting for it.
I know.
You
are.
And
You're all
look,
over it.
that I see it a lot. This isn't something that was an oddity. I see this a lot. And that's nothing against Kyle.
No, he
didn't
do anything dirty.
No, he
didn't do anything dirty.
He's trying to win $21,000.
He didn't do anything dirty. He took Brian's nose off, which happens every night in a sprint car race. It happens every night. You make a decision. Do you want to crash or do you want to make the next corner? That's what Brian did.
I'm not going to tell you what I'd do for $21,000. And I
don't want to hear that.
But that's going to wrap up segment one. SprintCarUnlimited.com podcast coming to you from Knoxville Raceway. We'll be back with Corey Kneeshaw, who's our handicapper for the Nationals. If you're doing a Wheatley pool, take note. Stay tuned. Welcome back to segment two, SprintCarUnlimited.com podcast presented by Wicked Energy Gum. We're coming to you from Knoxville Raceway. We're one day away from the Knoxville Nationals. We're here with Corey Kneeshaw, who it's an interesting story. He was a teacher in Minnesota. Now he's working in a casino in Nevada. I mean, that sounds shifty to me, but I like it. I like it. But one of the reasons we're having Corey on is because he handicaps the Knoxville Nationals. He has power rankings that he uses for the Lonnie Wheatley pool. And we thought it would be interesting just for people to get his feel on who he thinks is going to do well this week and who are the major players. Corey, what made you decide you've ranked 98 drivers here? That's a lot. What made you start doing this?
I started doing it about 5 years ago because of the Lonnie Wheatley poll, because this is one of the biggest polls that he does of the year other than Chili Bowl, and trying to rank 350 is nearly impossible. So I started doing it about 5 years ago. Started with one. I ranked about the top 40, and then based upon generally the season, and then as the years kind of gone on, I started adding more metrics to it. I started looking at the times the guys have raced over at Knoxville the last couple of years. And this year, what I really did is I factored that in the last 3 years racing here at Knoxville. But one of the things I really did for this year is I looked at all of the half-mile races that the World of Outlaws have run this year, which is 21 races of them. And I factored in all of the complete averages of those races. So you've got Knoxville, Eldora, you have I-70, you've got Ransomville. So anything that was a half mile that they ran in this year, I have them in my rankings.
Go ahead, Ryan. I'm tired already.
How'd you handicap Ransomville? You didn't have Reitzel up very high, did you? So.
It's too soon. Too soon.
Obviously, this is a pretty comprehensive list, and I know I get the emails, about doing it all and stuff. But how did you come up with the power rankings like what we see here?
So what I did was, like I said, I first and foremost, the first criteria that I looked for this year was how were they performing this year. You could take the last 2 and 3 years, but some drivers have changed rides. David Gravel's no longer in, he's no longer in the car the 41 car. He's now in the 2 car. Kerry Madsen's no longer in that ride. Carson Macedo's no longer in the Kyle Larson racing team. So I really looked at this year, how they matched up, how they did on the big tracks, and I was, going through the rankings, I was kind of shocked, really, because Carson Macedo is by far the best driver on a half mile this year, and it's not even close. He's almost, 2 points ahead of second place driver David Gravel and third place driver Donnie Schatz. What you don't hear within those 3 is who's number 6 on the list.
We're going to get to that in a minute.
And so I really looked heavily at how they did this year in the half miles, and I took their best finish and their worst finish, and I threw them out. And then I have a mean average of each of the drivers, and I go through about the top 40 of those that I did. Looked at, went through a lot of data. I mean, it took me about 2-3 days to compile all this data, but that's what I love. I love the stats components of things. I love being able to dive in, because to me, stats don't lie. Now, when I look at the stats, I take the heart and the emotion out of it. I'm just going purely based upon numbers now.
So how accurate have you been in the past years with your formula you're using?
I've cashed a couple of times in the 410 pool. I won the 360 pool 2 years ago, the Knoxville 361. I have 2 cashes in 410, so I feel like they're pretty accurate. You can't factor in for the mechanical failures that obviously happens, but I felt that they've been pretty good. Last year, out of my rankings, I was correctly able to put 20 of the 24 guys in my rankings who made it into the Saturday night A main event. I didn't have Shane Golovic, who made it in last year, in the big one. But yeah, I even ranked the one and only last year. I did that. So anytime I can come to Knoxville in person, I like to do rankings for that.
That's awesome.
You don't have a home life, do you?
I work in a sports book, and so you deal with numbers a lot within the sports book, and it's a great thing. One of my goals, I've expressed this with you, is within the next couple of years, I want to see World of Outlaw Racings have a handicap in Las Vegas where people can bet on the Knoxville Nationals, they can bet on Kings Royal, they can bet on the World Finals, and my goal is to be the odds maker for that.
You know, I'm going to be calling you during the week for some football bets, but that's another show altogether. I'm going to read your top 5 or your top 10. Okay, and then we'll get into some hard questions because I've argued a little bit with you on some variables or what I like to call intangibles. Kyle Larson, number 1. Carson Macedo, number 2. David Gravel, number 3. Donnie Schatz, number 4. Kerry Madsen, number 5. Number 6, Brad Sweet. That's probably a surprise to a lot of people. Sheldon Hodenshield, 7. Brian Brown, 8. Gio Selzy, 9. And Logan Schuchart, 10. Why Kyle Larson, number 1?
Well, you look at kind of what he did last year when he raced full time, and he was by far the most dominant sprint car driver last year. In the time that he has raced this year, it hasn't been as often. He's got about 11, 12 races on big half miles this year. His average is still 6.82, so he's right up there with them. The big factor for me is he went out there and he won Eldora. That showed me he can win one of the big ones. He still has the it factor. He is the guy. When he rolls through the gates each and every night, they want to beat him. He is the top guy that they want to beat, and that's why I debated between him and Carson. Seeing him run there last night at Oskaloosa, that was kind of the put him over the factor of that, just the fearless factor that he has. Like we talked about, he just has it, and other guys are afraid of him.
I have a question on the list here. You have Donnie at 4th, which is it's kind of a little bit of a surprise to me because he's had quite a down year. How does he get that high, or is it past performances here that have led him to get that high this year?
No, for Donnie this year, it's strictly based upon how he's done in the half miles this year. He ranks 3rd in my list on that. His average is 6.57 in the half miles this year, which I was kind of shocked about because you see, but his average. And so I think he is deserving of that spot because the consistency on the half miles this year has shown that he's there. And he's only, David Gravel's second at 6.47, so he's not too far behind David Gravel in second place right there. So I felt very comfortable about putting him in the 4th spot. I know other people, Donnie's over the hill, he's not done. But based upon my numbers in the half miles, it's 21 races this year, so I feel it's very good data that we've had so far. He's right up there.
I agree with your assessment on Larson, and I couldn't agree more. Actually, I think he's the favorite in here. Everybody talks about there being so many favorites. I think he's the clear-cut favorite. However, I do like Carson Macedo, and I do like David Gravel. My one concern about David, and I asked him about this during the Capitani in the post-race interview, sometimes that car labors a little at the end. It falls off. But how did you distinguish between Carson Macedo and David Gravel? I know you were doing some of these rankings even today. Carson, he's passing cars, but he doesn't seem as dominant as he was or as good as he was. How do you distinguish between Gravel and Carson Macedo?
Well, once again, going back to the half-mile races this year, Carson Macedo is dominating the half miles this year. His average is 4.68 on the half miles this year, and he's got a number of victories on the half mile as well. He's had the 2 here back in Knoxville, and that's a big factor back when they ran here in June, having that. David Gravel is averaging 6.47 on the half miles, so in 21 races. So when it's almost, we're almost at a 2-point gap right there. That was good enough for me to stick Carson Macedo ahead to him. Now, when I did do the head-to-head stats, though, when I looked at those 21 races, Gravel versus Macedo, Gravel actually wins 11 races to 10 races for Macedo. So I did have a little factor in that, so I was going back and forth with that. But I think with the 2 races he won here this year, big factor for me is Philip Dietz. Philip Dietz is one of the best mechanics. I think he is the best mechanic, other than Paul Silva, to walk through this gates this week.
That's what I would call a variable.
Absolutely. And so when I was looking at those 2, that to me gave Macedo the bump up to go ahead and put him at 2. And if I would have had him at 1, I would have been okay with that too. But I think after what Larson showed yesterday, he deserves to be number 1. Macedo clearly deserves to be number 2. Sunday night, he started 16th in the Cappy Classic here, and he got his way up to like 7th and then spun out, finished 10th, but he was passing cars coming up. Last night at Oskaloosa, same thing. He started deeper back in the field and moved his way up to 3rd. He knows how to pass. They've got that car tuning right at pretty much the whole year on half miles. They really do.
I'm going to turn this question over to Ryan, but I do want to mention it because I think Ryan would be in my camp on this. Brad Sweet 6th and Donnie 4th. I get the numbers. I understand the numbers. But Brad Sweet's been pretty good here, albeit I'm going to take an argument away already. He finished 6th, 16th, and like 11th here in 3 races this year. But, Ryan, don't you think that Brad Sweet, just from an intangible standpoint, should be higher than 6th and even higher than Donnie?
Well, that was my question earlier is how did Donnie get up there? But, man, Donnie's the best there was here. So Donnie just needs a little bit of help from his car, and he'll make things happen. I've seen Brad qualify not so great here, and that's something that you cannot have at the Nationals. You can't have it. It's hard to overcome that. Like with points, it's hard to overcome that. You won't have a good starting spot come final night. So I think the Ford program's been here a lot this year with Kerry running here a lot. So I think they probably have a motor for Donnie that's going to run really good. It's going to qualify really good. So I think Donnie's going to qualify pretty good here, and I think he might not qualify Brad, just looking at what I see happening here lately.
And I would agree with those. Once again, I'm going to go back to looking at the numbers. Brad Sweet hasn't won here since he won in 2018 the Nationals. In 12 races here, Brad has only finished in the top 5 in 4 of those out of 12 races. That's huge. That is huge when you come to a track like this. His qualifying hasn't been there. He's been average at best on half miles this year, not just talking Knoxville, just talking about all half miles. Brad's average is 8.11. So 8, his average finish is 8th place. And so that was another huge factor. Donnie's clearly beaten him in that factor. I understand Brad's the point leader of Woo, but it just goes to show me what he's doing in the bull rings. He's absolutely killing it in the bull rings because I know what he's doing in the half miles. I have all the data for that. He's absolutely killing these guys in the bull rings, and that's more of his forte. But the fact that he hasn't won here since 2018 and he's only had 4 top 5 finishes, that's alarming to me. And right there, that's why I go with the numbers. So that's why I'll say I'll take him. I'll go put him 6th. Put Kerry Madsen 5th ahead of him, because when you look at Kerry Madsen, what he's done since he's hopped into the 14 ride this year, his average is 6.72 in finishes on half miles in those races. And head-to-head, Kerry has beaten Brad 7 out of 10 times this year in half-mile races. So right there, that was good enough for me to put Kerry 5th and Brad 6th.
Well, before Ryan has another great question for you, but I'm not putting these rankings out until we pick the Wheatley pool, but I'll be talking to you.
Sounds good.
We do anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, we do.
Go ahead, Ryan.
So being a homer, the Pennsylvania Posse homer.
That's an understatement.
Yep. I'm looking at the list, and I see a couple guys that run pretty much strictly half miles at home. Like, you got Logan Wagner here. He's, I think you said 50th on your chart here. But I know his average finish is on a half mile is probably 4 or 3, probably. So how do you make that assessment from Port Royal and put him in this field, knowing that his half mile stats are actually pretty good?
I look at the competition of who he's gone against. He hasn't gone against the World of Outlaws at Port Royal this year. They'll be there later on in the season. So I think that's a huge factor. He's going against the local competition. Another factor is Knoxville. I know the Zemco car has been here before in the past with Lucas Wolf, and they've been here with Dale Blaney, but I'm not sure Logan Wagner's ever been here to race it. Knoxville is a completely different animal than any other track. I know they say it's comparable to Port Royal, but I've seen guys from Pennsylvania who are here on Sunday, TJ Stutz, Robbie Kendall, who absolutely struggled on this track qualifying and in heat races. So I think when you don't race here, and this is the same thing for California drivers who come out here because they're used to those bull rings and they try to pitch it tight in the corners here. You can't do that at this track. You have to be smooth as can be going around through here. And I think for when you don't get a chance to race out here and it's your first time, you're going to struggle. And so, the Zemco car is going to be fast because they've been here before, so they're going to have that tune-up for it. I just don't know what it's going to be like for Logan once he gets out here.
Logan actually ran here one time before, I believe, in his
Yes.
father's car, and actually didn't do bad. I think he did. I think he made it to C main. It wasn't
Right.
like it was a disaster by any means. But no, I agree. I was just curious how you see the guy that really hasn't run against any outlaw races, like you said, and pretty much kind of stays at one track, which is a half mile. And that was really my question on that, and I think you answered it precisely.
Well, now we're going to talk about some sleepers. Maybe some people who are outside the top 10 to watch for, some guys that you like. Who are some of the sleepers and drivers to watch that maybe people don't think of coming into the Nationals?
First one would be Justin Henderson. I think the year that he's had here at Knoxville this year has been pretty phenomenal. You saw the other night, he was pretty fast here. He's been that way pretty much all year here, whether it be the 410, be the 360. He finished third in the 360 Nationals. He knows his way around this place. The problem I could see having with Justin is a part failure. It's happened in the past. I've taken him in pools before. I took him at Jackson Nationals a couple years ago. They blew a motor and they were done for the week. So it's just, what type of spares and stuff do they have there? But I could definitely see him top 15. I can see him top 10 in on Saturday night.
You have him 16th, by the way, on your list, which I think that's a good number, or a high number for Justin Henderson against this competition.
It is, but like I said, I think track familiarity, because he knows this track. He proved on Sunday night he can race with them. He proved when they came back here in June, the Outlaws here. He took one out of the B, I think, on the first night, and then 17th on the second night. So he's able to run with them, and so that's why I like him that high. Another one who really has caught my eye this week has been Scott Boguski in the 25 car.
You and I talked about him last night at Oski.
We absolutely did. He was flying before he had to pull off with something at Oskaloosa. I watched him here Sunday night in the 25 car, the Inkenberry car, and I think he's one that, I think in the pool he is relatively misgrouped there. So I think that's one that I will definitely be jumping on to go after him with that one.
You have him 43rd, and you and I talked to him. We both took notice to him at the Cappy and how good he looks. So that's actually, I'm anxious to see how he does it, although he pulled off last night, and you and I were both concerned.
We were, concerned a little bit about that, because you don't know what happened. Did something happen to the motor? Is this the only motor they have? Do they have another motor? Things of those. When I'm doing these pools, that's what I kind of like to know those things, because I don't want to be stuck with somebody who, doesn't show up to the Nationals. That happened to me last week when I took Joey Saldana in the 360 National pool, because it was the Friday night. I had no idea, in these pools, you can't have somebody not show up if you want to be able to get to the top of these pools.
Well, it's going to be interesting. We got to plug Circa Sports. That's who you work for. And what do you think your chances of getting this in a casino? Do you have any? I'm sure you've talked about it. You've already moved up to a supervisory role. It didn't take you long. By the way, Jovan Schriltz, that's kind of all of our common connection. That's, he knows you, and that's how I met you, and that's how Ryan met you. So Joe, I know, was really anxious for this show. And are you going to move back to California? You could live right next door to Joe.
No, we're going to stay in Las Vegas. We love it there. I have had some initial talks with the people at Circa about it. The great thing is they're a brand new company. They just opened up within the last 2 years. They're outside the box thinkers. And that's what I really like about them the most. You can bring them ideas, and they don't immediately shoot it down. Give us a couple years. I think within 2 to 3 years, we're going to have World of Outlaw Racing bets that you can come to Vegas, or when we start getting to other places, we'll be here in Iowa in a couple weeks on a mobile app, and that's going to be huge. And that's one of the things that I'm really selling to them is Iowa's the sprint car capital of the world. We're already there. We can get sprint car racing. We can get odds put up for the Knoxville Nationals, for Eldora, and for the season-long championship. I think that's, you see it in other sports. You see it in NASCAR. We do F1. We do all the sports there at Circa. And, I think within time we'll get it there.
Well, I'm going to give one sleeper before we get out of this segment. And you're okay to stick around for our pick segment?
Absolutely.
You're picking last, just so you know. But
he has to abide by our rules?
No, he doesn't have to go by our rules.
Of course. He's gonna kick our ass then.
Well,
I hope you know that.
Well,
he's gonna take the best of the best then.
You know what?
That's okay.
Yeah, you can't pick who we pick.
No, because that's gonna handicap him to the third best
Yeah,
pick.
that's true.
No, I want to see what your best. I want to see what your best pick is.
But my sleeper, Corey Eliason, he's 18th in your rankings. He's good here. I liked what I saw the other night. I liked the role he's on. I liked that he didn't go to Oski in case something happened to kind of get him off that roll. So I like Corey Eliason. How about you?
I like Davey Heskin. I believe he's leading the points here.
Look good on.
Looks really good on the bottom, and kind of a local sleeper. I like the local guys, Jeremy. You know that.
Yeah. What do you think about those two?
I think they're good picks. I think Corey benefited early on Sunday from going out real early from the pill draw. So if he can get another good pill draw like he did, I think he showed real good speed, like you said earlier in the earlier segment. That's the fastest he's looked all year. Davey Heskin leading the points here. Davey generally hasn't had great nationals success here in the past. So I would be surprised if he does put it into Saturday nights. My sleeper that I'm going with is a guy from your guys' area, Danny Dietrich. I think what Danny has done this year against the all-comers, against all-stars, with outlaws, he's been fast. This is a track he's been to. I know this isn't a track he's had great success at, but I think this has been a different year for him, and I'm excited to see what he can do on his qualifying night.
Well, you have him 24th, so it'll be interesting to see what he does. We'll be back in our third segment where we look at our picks. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the third and final segment, SprintCarUnlimited.com podcast presented by Wicked Energy Gum. Here with Ryan Hand, Corey Kneeshaw from Circa Sports, and we're going to do some picks quick. It'll be a short segment. We're going to get out of here and get something to eat before they kick us out of Knoxville Raceway for the night. Ryan, it's that magical time. How do we want to do this? You're ahead of me now, but how do we want to do that?
There's no way I'm ahead of you in spots.
Yeah, you
There's
are.
no way.
I don't know.
Because you were 16. I thought you were 16 the last email, which was prior to the front row challenge. And I only beat you by 6.
Okay, that might have been.
So
all right, so you pick first.
I think you're still leading in the category
that we
you say
do
counts.
picks. Okay, so we have Wednesday night. We're going to pick each night minus Friday because, well, we don't know who's going to win Friday. But we have some – we're going to also pick the top finishing Pennsylvania driver, and our producer thinks Brent Marks shouldn't be included. Colton Gauss, who's sitting up in the rafter, doesn't believe he should be included. You think he does.
He's included for me. Is he an all-star? Nope.
Okay.
Is he an outlaw?
We're going to let Corey decide because he does power rankings. Is he posse or is he not?
He's not.
You've been shut down.
Corey, it's a long way down.
So we're going to jump in. You pick first. Wednesday qualifying. Who do you got? Corey's going to pick last so we don't feed off his picks.
Donnie Schatz.
Donnie Schatz. Damn it. I was going to take him there. I have to take David Gravel. I have no choice. I can't lose spots. Corey, who do you think is the best pick for people on Wednesday?
Logan Schuchart.
Well, you went off the grid. Okay, I got to ask you to explain that because
you just explained for half hour his power rankings, and Logan's behind both our picks.
Logan's had issues this year finishing races. He really has. He happened at the Kings Royal. He was, I believe, up in top 5, top 10 each night, and wound up pulling off. I think for one race, I'm going to pick Logan Schuchart. I think he can. Not only can he top 3 it, I think he can win Wednesday night's race. But now having to take him for the whole week, that's where my numbers say it just doesn't happen. But for one race, Wednesday night, I'll take Logan Schuchart.
Wow. I actually like the pick because he was going to be my second pick.
If
I wouldn't have taken Donnie, I would have taken Logan.
Grab on Shots, no way.
I can't pick either of those two guys.
Well, you could if you wanted.
No. I'll you guys take your
play
pick.
by the rules.
I'll play by the rules.
Look at you. You're working in a casino and everything. Thursday. Now, I pick first. And the nice thing is, well, then how do we do Saturday? Do we just wrap it around? That means you're kind of getting jilted.
You let me go first for Saturday.
Oh, my.
Yeah, but we have dinners on this, Corey.
I'm going first on Saturday because that's the order, Jeremy.
All right, so I go first Thursday.
Why does he want to change the rules when it doesn't go in his favor?
Now, Thursday's tough. I do think Thursday's way harder than
I
Wednesday.
agree.
I would agree with it. Yeah, it really is. When I looked at the, when I looked at the list of Thursday night drivers who I felt had a realistic chance to win that race on the preliminary night, there were 16. When I looked at Wednesday's night races, there was only 10 guys.
Well, and I got to be careful here because I think I know where Ryan's going Saturday, and he picks first Saturday, so I won't get him. So I got to take Kyle Larson on Thursday.
Okay. I will go Carson Macedo.
That's where I would have went if I didn't think you were going on Saturday. Who do you got, Corey?
I'll take Kerry Madsen.
That's solid.
Honestly, I was going to take him because I want to save Kyle.
Yeah,
for
I
Saturday.
don't think Kerry's going to be a high point guy, but I think Kerry can win that night.
Yeah.
And that's what we're talking about. Okay, we're going to do Saturday. Go ahead.
Kyle Larson.
Stunned. I don't know where to go. I just don't know. I like gravel. I like the whole Capitani Knoxville thing. Colton's flashing a number. I don't know what he flashed. I missed it. Yeah,
69K.
They're all saying
69K.
They're all saying the same thing, but I just don't know. But I'm going to take David Gravel because he's just so fast here. And Corey, who do you got?
Carson Macedo. And I think he, if there's anybody who I think has a chance to knock off Kyle on Saturday night, I think it's Carson Macedo.
Yeah, I mean that's a great pick.
I have a question for either of you guys. I think I got the pick that I was going to take regardless of what the rules were. If the rules are wide open and you can take whoever you want for Saturday night, who are you taking?
Kyle Larson.
Who are you
Kyle
taking?
Larson.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I think he's clear-cut favorite.
Okay.
Now we're going to do just a sidebar, and it does count Joe, so you got to write it down, is the Pennsylvania. Who finishes highest out of the Pennsylvania drivers? We have a big list. We have, obviously, Dietrich, Macri. We have Sisney. We have Logan Wagner. Brent Marks, we're not allowed to include him per Corey, so which makes Ryan upset. But, I guess I pick first, don't I?
That's your pick.
I like that. Boy, Dietrich did not look good in a Cappy. That's one of the things I'm a little leery of. Is I should ask, are you going to tell me if they have the Garrett in for Anthony Macri?
That's a dumb question.
Yeah, that's a definite yes. Man, it's all on pill draw. Anthony Macri goes Wednesday, doesn't he?
Mm-hmm.
When's Dietrich go?
Wednesday night.
Wednesday.
We're going to know real early who wins that. I think it's between those two. I'm going to go Anthony Macri.
I guess I'll have to go Dietrich.
Were you going to go Anthony Macri?
I was torn, honestly, because I
tough.
think
It's close.
I honestly think his qualifying effort will probably be better than Danny's, but I think it's going to be a situation where Danny's qualifying effort might get him into the show because he might start up front in the heat.
Right.
And if you don't start up front far enough, I guess in the heat, if you time in no man's land and don't make it in through the heat, you're in trouble.
You got problems.
Now, I feel like a guy that time trials really good and doesn't make it in, you're not in as bad of trouble because you're going to start up front in the B.
Right.
So I'm thinking that would be the reason I take Danny. I think he's going to be in the front two rows of a heat is my thinking on his time trial effort.
How about you, Corey? And you can pick anybody here.
Well, I'm going to, go off of, I won't pick either one of you guys. I think Lucas Wolf's going to have a good national here because he's been here before. He's been here in different cars, so he's got a lot of laps at this place. And I think since he broke away and went back to his own car this year, left the 07, he's had some decent results, better than he's looked the last couple of years for the rides he's been in. So he's one of my, I would not be shocked if he's one of the 24 here Saturday night. I really wouldn't.
Got to ask, does Circus Sports have online?
Yes, we do. Circusports.com.
Well, Corey, thanks for being on the show.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it, guys.
Hey, check out Circus Sports online. It's our little shameless plug. Plus, I like to gamble. But that's going to wrap up this edition of the SprintCarUnlimited.com podcast presented by Wicked Energy Gum. Stay tuned to SprintCarUnlimited.com all week for your sprint car needs and full coverage from the Knoxville Nationals. Ryan and I will be back each night with Dirt Track Digest Mike Mallett. We can pick on him because he doesn't know who's elite. And and again, we'll have full coverage of the event, and then we'll be back with another show next week. Stay tuned.